2. We got a little spider here. There's crystallized sugar at the top of this jar too. Go up in here. Okay. So last video was hive checking Hive 1 for the first time. Now we're on Hive 2. This is the second time we've done a hive check. Thank you for hitting with the smoke. We're gonna try to get the smoke so that the bees that are on the top can kind of go down into the cells a bit. Make it easier for me to be able to reach in and grab what I need to grab. So today's goal is to get queen presence again. Just make sure she's doing well. Today though, we should be able to see a lot of capped brood. Last time I pointed out larvae and eggs. Nothing's drawn on this frame yet, so they're still building out. I'm gonna go in until I see a frame that has more comb. This one has some comb on it. It's a white frame, so it's a bit difficult to see, but you can see how there's some shiny liquid in there. That's nectar. You can see how the bees are kind of building it. Is there anything on this side? Nothing really on this side, so it seems like this side of this frame is about the extent of where they built to. You can see the Varoxan I mentioned in the last video as well. That's kind of the varroamite treatment that we're using for now. It's just going to live in the hive. We don't want to touch it though because it has it's a chemical treatment, but you see a lot of capped brood on here. That's the brood. So let's see, can I spot any brood in here? I don't really see any. That means most of it is capped or hatched out of the comb by now, but that's what it looks like. Like in the last video I mentioned that the grubs themselves, they look like grubs. The larvae look like grubs, and once they reach a certain size, they get capped over to basically metamorphize. Imagine like a caterpillar into a butterfly. It's the same on this frame, except there's just a lot more open cells, which means that a lot more eggs have, or a lot more larvae have come out. You can see some eggs in the bottom of some of these open cells down here. If you get a good look, they look like little rice grains again. It's not a super active, because there is a lot of capped brood on this frame. I'm going to assume the queen is not on this frame. The Varoxan has fallen. Let's see if I can pick that up. I don't want to touch it with my glove because, like I said, it's a chemical treatment and my glove will absorb some of the chemical. So if I can just maneuver with my hive tool. I'm actually going to grab a twig over here so I can have kind of a pincer. And then I'll just toss this twig away later. But it's going to go here. All right. So now we continue. Can you hit here with the smoker? There's some bees that are lined up at the top, and you can see them on this frame too. Those are guard bees, and they're just they don't know what's really going on. They're trying to assess me. So that's where the smoker comes in, because if I make a single wrong move to them, they'll think I'm a threat, and I don't want them to think that. So instead I scare them away so they don't see me make a wrong move. Even more capped brood. Again, I'm not confident that the queen would be on this frame, but up here there are some larvae, some pretty big grubs, relatively speaking. They take up the entire cell after a while. They go from that small, if you were able to see the eggs, they go from that small egg into a larger grub. This is some burr comb. This is not the ideal way for them to form their honeycomb. You can see how it's all rigid and not uniform with the frame itself. So that's something that should probably be fixed in the future. I'm gonna leave it for the time being. It's still a very young hive, so I wanna make sure. Can you hit again in this gap? See the bees going away. There were more guard bees, like I had pointed out, trying to make sure there's nothing wrong. In time, they'll understand nothing's quite wrong. There's a lot of larvae on this frame. No real capped brood. I think I saw one capped cell. There is a cell being capped as well. So that's very nice to see, but nothing that makes me think. There's a lot of eggs on this frame. She's right there.
Is that the queen?
Where exactly? Use your pinky. No, that's a drone. Oh. The drones and queens are easy to mistake because they're both big. But you can usually tell by the eye pattern as well. The drones have eyes look like they're at the top of their head. And they also just kind of look fatter. But I do want to spend a moment. I would love to be able to point out the queen if I could. She may be on the next one. If there's eggs on here, there may be eggs on the next frame as well. Or maybe she's starting to lay eggs on the next frame, rather. Bees are a little bit unhappy about being up here. There was a slight buzz when I picked up the frame. But looks like this is mostly a nectar frame. I don't really see any eggs. And there doesn't seem to be any drawn comb on this frame. So I will assume that the rest of the frames also do not have drawn comb. Let me do a quick check. Looks like it. Here's our wax frame. I think I mentioned that we have a wax frame because the bees typically like to build with the wax. Looks like this one was kind of out of their way a bit. When they get to it, I'm sure it'll be drawn really quickly. They just haven't built out that far yet. I'm gonna take another look at this frame and see if we can maybe spot something with the queen. I'm gonna pick up every frame because I would really love to point her out if possible. But you can see all this coloration. I'll point out the grubs, the larvae, pointed out the pollen. Well, the pollen is this dark yellow on the frame. The shiny liquid is nectar. There's a lot of small larvae on here too. This is a really good frame. If only the queen was on it. Let's see. Yeah, there's some grub larvae, and let's see, can I get some eggs? It's a little tough. No biggie. This hive is pretty well mannered too. The smoker seems to be keeping the guard bees pretty docile, so they don't think I'm a big threat. Can you hit here and here? All right, thank you. So now going back, the very heavily capped brood frame. I'm again not confident the queen's going to be here. Maybe somewhere on the, what was this, bird comb frame. The reason this isn't great is because you see some bees are going like under the wax, and that just makes it tough for beekeepers to see what's happening, for lack of better terms. Because maybe the queen is on that frame and I just can't see her, and now I think, I couldn't find the queen. I have to make sure I remember that for next time. Although I will also say last time we did see the queen in this hive. And on top of that, we're seeing a lot of eggs and larvae, so there's probably nothing wrong. It's just something that beekeepers have to keep in mind when doing hive checks, like, oh, I didn't see the queen. Versus proving queen presence, which we did. So again, not a huge problem. But I'm not really seeing her. She can be real stealthy. Oh no. Let's see if I can actually. That's an easy fix here. Just make sure. There we go. But this is a fairly simple video this time. She might be on this outer frame. Let's just go ahead and do a quick check. Doesn't look like it. Do see some more drones on this frame. I'll point one out. So let's see, I just saw a couple. Here's one, here's a drone. You see it's kind of bigger, thicker body. The eyes look more on top than one of the worker bees. And it's easy to mistake them for the queen if you're just looking for size difference. You also have to look for the coloration. But yeah, that looks like it'll be our hive check for today. I'm realigning these frames. We have 10 frames in here. 10 frames don't perfectly fill up the hive. So what I'm doing is I'm putting little gaps in here. So that way the bees don't just fill the extra space basically with more wax, which would make it more difficult for me to do future hive checks. But yep. That's today's hive check for Hive 2.
What's Johnathan doing today? Jonathan's removing the lid.
I'm pulling the lid off. Alright. There is some comb on here, so. But they are more scattered, so I'm going to go ahead and see if I can just grab this. And this is so that it's easier to get the top off in the future. So I'll give their wax back to them. And that'll fall down once I get like more into the hive. That one is already investigating me. Actually, I'll leave it here and they'll drag it in. I'm gonna get the smoker, push these guys away for the rest of it, because that wasn't going quite as easily as I'd hoped. There's I think there's some nectar in this because this bee is got her tongue out. Oh, they'll pick that up. Alright, the wind's blowing this way, so I'm gonna do this. Okay, come on. Might want to be a little bit quick about this one because the smoker seems like it's not smoking as well as it was. It's not in its youthful days anymore. This is the third hive. But here we go. So you can come a little bit closer while I start pulling the frames out. I'm gonna actually try to hit these again because you see there's some bees coming up to the top here. And those are bees that are just trying to check me out. Nothing against them, but I don't want them to check me out. Because if they check me out and they realize I actually have a very ugly face, they will not be happy that someone with an ugly face is in their hive.
Ooh.
They're gonna be like, you're not affecting our queenliness. And this will be a bit of a tough frame to pull out because it's near the edge and it has the drawn comb on it. It's kind of messing up the hanger over here, but that's okay.
Oops.
So we see, this looks like, let me get a better look at this frame really quick. Okay, so there are eggs, there are larvae, which means this is capped brood. These are little babies that have grown as big as they really should be as grubs and are metamorphizing. And let's see, can I get, okay, see if you can get the camera here. There's a bunch more grubs there of different sizes. Do they show?
I can't really tell, but hopefully.
Hopefully. We will cross our fingers.
That's right.
In the worst case scenario, while I'm editing, I'll pull up, I'll just put a picture there. This poor girl. I don't know what happened to this one.
She doesn't know either.
Casualties happen. It's very normal. It's sad when it happens. But we have, I saw eggs, larvae, and capped brood, which means we have queen presence. That's like extreme good indicator of queen presence. She is in the hive. We might see her.
Ooh!
Hopefully we do.
I would like to see her.
In the meantime, I'm gonna just go through, continue looking, see what their food storage looks like, see if I can find the queen, and just make sure there's nothing super bad happening. Make sure I don't see any pests or parasites to the hive. Make sure the bees themselves aren't too angry. They do seem to be a little bit apprehensive or a little bit on edge right now, which makes me curious. Maybe there is something going on, I'm not sure. This is, I believe that's capped honey because it looks like there's a bunch of nectar. I do see some brood in here actually. It might just be a lot of capped brood in there using the extra space as nectar space. This side has a very solid brood pattern. This is almost definitely brood because it's just so much of the frame. And as for looking for the queen, I'm gonna leave this frame. The fact that there is so much brood indicates that it's very unlikely that the queen will be on this frame because her job in the hive is almost exclusively to lay eggs. She will not be on a frame that does not have space to lay eggs, if she can help it. There are some times when a hive is overcrowded where she just starts laying eggs wherever she can find space, but this hive should not be overcrowded. There are multiple frames that have very little development on them that they'll need to get to. There are a lot of grubs on this frame. I see them, a lot of larvae. I don't see any eggs, so either the queen could be somewhere on this frame and she just hasn't gotten to the laying eggs on it. This was a frame already used to have hatched larvae, but the hive itself has been active for over a couple weeks now, so those eggs have since hatched, grown into larvae, and then metamorphized into bees that are now active. A lot of these bees are probably bees that have hatched since after the hive was installed and started. I didn't see the queen, but just more brood, more eggs, and all that jazz. It's good to see. Good to see that the population is growing. I'm going to be a bit more careful with this frame because there's this Varoxan strip, which is a pesticide treatment for varroa mites. I'm actually going to set this down. The hive is getting a bit more temperamental again, so I'm going to try to hit them with a bit more smoke. I'm able to tell the hive is a little bit more temperamental because the bees start flying to my face. Some of them are a little bit more apprehensive about like who I am, what I'm doing. They don't understand that I'm trying to do good things for them. They just know that there's somebody getting in their hive, ripping things apart. And as you might see, like they have this honeycomb up top that's basically keeping it all together. So to them, it feels like I'm going into their house and ripping their walls down. So let's see. I see some more grubs on this. I could believe the queen would be somewhere on this frame. I don't want to handle this one too much because Roxanne is a pretty harsh chemical. I don't want to, I held it very close to my face there, which wasn't a great idea, but if I start coughing, I start coughing. But yeah, I don't want to hold that one for too long. Harsh chemical, if I can avoid it, I don't want to breathe anything in. It is safe for the bees though, for anybody wondering. It's just that it reacts differently with humans. Oh boy, slightly heavier frame, a bit more crowded. Another good brood pattern. This might be actually a bunch of cap nectar. I see more coloration in it, like a darker color, which means indicates to me that it's probably like the liquid kind of staining the wax. You can see more wax kind of off the bottom of this frame. Not super ideal, not really in the way though, so I'm gonna leave it for this exact moment. And in the future, I'll probably take it down. It's just tough to do that with just by myself, and my lovely assistant is recording.
That's right.
That's right. So this looks like it'll probably be the last frame, maybe the last 2 frames that have anything on them. We might not see the queen. If we don't, then it's fine. We've already proven that she's in the hive by seeing the eggs, the larvae, and the capped brood. The eggs are usually the best indicator because that means she's been active very, very recently, whereas all the other ones mean that she has been active in the past 3 days and then maybe the past week or so. There's some nectar stores, just shiny liquid up here. It's been present on many of the frames, but I'll just point it out there because this corner over here is also raised, so it's easier to figure out like where you should be looking. There are some grubs here. Let me see. There's one that's kind of miscolored. I wonder what that's about. I see some eggs on this frame, but not really noticing the queen. The queen herself is going to have, I could have mentioned earlier in case it showed up on video, but the queen has a more slim abdomen, kind of elongate abdomen compared to the rest of the bees, and her coloration is kind of more muted. These bees have the black and white stripes. Typically a queen will be kind of just more monotone orange on her abdomen, and she'll look bigger. It's also easy to confuse the queen with a drone though, a male bee, because the male bees are bigger. Here's one actually. This isn't the queen, this is the male bee, a drone. He's bigger, he's kind of thicker than a lot of the other ones, but also notice that you might see his eyes up top and his abdomen isn't necessarily elongate. He still has that coloration, that very characteristic black and white coloration as well. And let's see, this is a very active frame for how little comb is actually drawn on. About half of this is drawn, but I'm not seeing her. So we're gonna put it all back together, and that's just a quick hive check.